And welcome back. I'm Dr. Dan Cooper, and I've got a question that came to me yesterday, and I thought the answer might pertain to you, so I thought I'd record my answer for you. The question was from a friend who sent me a message and said, "Hey man, I am really looking to get back in shape." Specifically, he said, "I want to get back into football shape." And with a little extra digging, what he had in mind was the agility and that athleticism that goes along with being in shape for a sport, especially a sport where there's multi-directional movement happening. And so given this person's age, he's not old by any means, but he is right around 30, I thought this sounds kind of like a question: what is dad strength and what should dad strength include? I say it like that because once you're out of the sport, if you're not playing anymore and you're trying to look good, feel good, have a strong ability to perform in life, you're talking about longevity fitness, and that is dad fitness. You want to be able to perform for the duration of your kid's life and be that parent who can kick ass for most of their life. And so what goes into that? And I have thought off the top of my head, I thought there's four things really, at least for me, when we start talking about dad strength and that sort of thing, that's exactly where I'm in life. And so what do I want out of fitness? And this also comes into play with this specific question because this friend was talking about working out with me. And if you're going to work out with me, it's going to be about the kind of fitness that I want. So the things that make sense and make the needle move in the right direction for me. So four things would be mobility for one. The body should be able to move through its full natural range of motion freely, safely, with strength and coordination and grace. There shouldn't be these taboo ranges of motion available, or ranges of motion that just aren't available at all. And I say taboo like, if I get into this position or I move this way, I'll hurt myself. That's what I mean by taboo. That shouldn't exist in life. Getting a mobility routine in play so that you can access full natural ranges of motion, and within those full ranges of motion, you have strength all along that range. There aren't taboo ranges within anywhere that your body can move. So those are two pieces there: reclaiming ranges of motion that are lost, and then gaining control and strength and endurance within those ranges of motion. Another thing that I thought of was the transverse plane. So many workout programs utilize the sagittal plane, this straight in front of you plane of motion, so much that the others are neglected. The frontal plane gets neglected, but injuries happen a lot in the transverse plane. And so it would be really worthwhile to be strong in that transverse plane. You don't want to be that dude who just does some stupid thing that you should be able to do, and then you get hurt. Developing strength in the transverse plane, I think, is very important. And in that full body transverse plane, there's things that I do, like I love those cable machines that have the arms that can move in two different axes. So you can essentially move them in any direction you want. And so I use it all the time because I can really customize for very specific movement directions that I'm looking for. And I'll do a full body rotational pulls and pushes, for that matter, with just a handle attachment. So things like that, where you're utilizing hip rotation, torso rotation, shoulder rotation. All this is occurring, and if it's occurring simultaneously, you're getting a very coordinated strength as well. So incorporating stuff like that into routine. If you picture throwing anything, chucking a spear, throwing a baseball, whatever the case may be, there is a ton of rotation happening in the body, and those are things we should be able to do. I remember this when I was in college, so I was even old. I was probably 18 or 19. Because I remember being my freshman year of college, I got a intramural softball team together. I thought, oh man, this is gonna be great. I used to love softball back in the day. And I was like, I want to go do some batting practice. And so I went with a buddy, and we start throwing balls and swinging for the freaking fences. And I hadn't swung a bat in years. Even at that point, I played softball. I grew up in Chicago, and we did slow pitch softball with a 16-inch softball. It was no glove, huge ball. You can crow hop your hits. It was awesome. And I remember loving it. I moved out of Chicago when I was 14, so it was probably the last time I played. So it had been at least 4 years, probably 5 years since I had played or swung a bat at all, because I didn't play baseball after that. I'm just trying to crush these balls. Home runs every time. I was so freaking sore. Even in the youth with lack of training, it's easy to get hurt there. Training that as an adult who probably hasn't swung a bat or done anything violent in the transverse plane in quite a while really needs to be in the regimen. Another thing is explosive strength. Emergencies happen. Punk asses come in and give you trouble or give your kid trouble, and you need to rectify situations. If that happens, explosive strength is pulling somebody away, pushing someone away, getting a quick shuffle step to grab the stroller as it's rolling out into the street. Like those kinds of things, those are all explosive. And if you don't have fast twitch fibers in a strong, resilient, trained fashion, you can hurt yourself. Fast twitch pulls really hard, and you can tear fast twitch muscles more easily than slow twitch muscles with burst strength, just because of the nature of them contracting a lot faster. So training explosive strength is important. And in that same vein of training explosive strength, your tendons take a lot of beating with explosive movements. So tendon strength goes right along with the fast twitch muscle fiber training. And easy ways to start that. So I don't know if I would start with plyometrics, where you're doing very explosive things with ballistic force right off the bat. I might do some tendon strength work first. And one of the easiest ways to improve tendon health and tendon strength is eccentrically loading those limbs, whatever they are, whichever tendons you're talking about. So if you're not familiar with the term eccentric loading, that's negatives. So if I were to do a bench press, for example, just as an example, when the bar's on my chest and then I press it to full length extension with my arms, that's the concentric phase of the motion. And when I lower it back down to my chest, that's the eccentric phase of the motion. So you would do those lengthening of muscles under tension, that's eccentric. I would do that slowly. And that builds tendon strength as well as overall growth strength, but it is especially stressing on the tendons without being ballistic in nature. So if your tendons are in crappy health and they're maybe a little fragile, this will allow you to strengthen them without snapping them, because snapping them is less than ideal. That is what you're trying to avoid. The other piece of this is loaded endurance. Now, it's very counter to explosive strength. Loaded endurance, and when I say loaded endurance, what I mean is you're out in the Grand Canyon hiking and somebody gets hurt. Break a leg, say. They can't walk. They can't walk out of the bottom of that canyon. Can you carry that family member back up to the trailhead? I say Grand Canyon just because it's a gorgeous place that I like to go, and outdoor stuff is my game, so that's something that would make sense for me. You know what else would make sense for me? Can I hump a elk quarter out of a draw? Can I carry a field dressed deer out of the woods, wherever I am? I don't know. Can you? That's a piece of strength that you want to have, and training for that is essential, because you might think, oh yeah, I can do that. I have emergency mindset going on. I can do that. Adrenaline will help me through that. No, it won't. It'll help you for the first 30 steps, and then you will fail. So loaded strength could be, you could start off with just weight vest carries, where you just walk around with a weight vest on. You could throw a rucksack on. Rucking's becoming kind of popular now, which is funny. It was like the bane of our existence when I was in the Army, and now it's a fun thing for people to do. But right now I've got a baby carrier for my daughter, and my wife and I both humped her around Rocky Mountain National Park. So we're doing hikes with a weight in the back. She's around 30 pounds now, plus the stuff we stuck in the trunk of that pack. So let's just say 35 to 37 pounds. And we're hiking her around. That's a ease into loaded carries. Maybe you want your hands involved. So now you're talking about farmer's carries, where you are grabbing something with both hands and carrying it whatever distance. So now you're bringing grip strength and trap strength into the equation. Maybe do a suitcase carry. Oof, suitcase carry is way tougher. So now you're loaded on one side. So you're gripping whatever it is in one hand. Maybe it's a heavy dumbbell, a kettlebell, whatever it is, and you're carrying that. So now we're resisting the lateral bend with that one, because you're only loaded on one side. It's trying to pull your body over, and you're resisting that. So in addition to the grip strength and the trap strength, you've got a resistance to lateral bend. So your whole side of your torso, your QLs are getting fired up. Different game. Maybe you throw a sandbag into the mix. So now a sandbag's really a much better analogous implement to a body. So I talk about carrying a body out of a place, a canyon. I'm not saying a body like a dead body, but an injured body that you need to move out of a space. A sandbag's dead weight. So it is very much like a body that isn't helping you. So maybe you sling it over a shoulder, or maybe you carry it in the way that you would carry your kid or your spouse or whoever. Maybe you do it in different positions. You do it in like a Zercher carry, where you've got it in the crook of your elbows. draped across your shoulders, over one shoulder, do a fireman's carry. So you've got all these different ways that you can carry a sandbag to simulate carrying a person. And with sandbags, you can increase or decrease the weight. So you start with something lighter and work your way up, just like any training program. You periodize the program so that you're increasing the load as you go, as you get stronger and better at doing the activity. That's what I think. Those are my 4 categories right off the top of my head for longevity strength. You know what? Part of dad's strength is being around for as much of your kid's life as you can be. And so cardiovascular health goes into that as well. So I didn't want to make it 5, but I guess a 5th category is warranted here. And that would be HIIT training. High intensity interval training is so killer for bringing cardiovascular health into your existence. You don't have to do long duration cardio to get cardiovascular health. And it's actually better to do high intensity interval training because it taxes your cardiovascular system very heavily and actually it taxes your vessels quite a bit too with the contraction and dilation of those vessels. So it actually exercises your vessels, but it doesn't have the long-term cortisol consequences that longer duration cardio have. They're both going to spike cortisol in the event and for a short duration after the event in the case of HIIT training, but in the case of long duration cardio training, that cortisol elevation retains for sometimes up to a couple of days. You're getting much more ability to recover when you do HIIT training versus doing long duration cardio, because when you have high cortisol, you have decreased growth hormone, and growth hormone is your main regenerative hormone. You want that around in ample amounts so that you can recover. It recovers all your tissues. So if you want to recover from your workouts, you don't want to have cortisol spiked all the time, or else your recovery sucks because growth hormone is low. So those are my now 5 categories. I'm hoping for 4. Now I'm going to 5. We have mobility training to make that body limber and access all the available ranges of motion and have strength through them. Transverse plane exercises, so rotational stuff. Explosive strength, which includes fast twitch muscle fibers, but also those tendons that attach to those muscles so they can handle the explosive strength coming out of those muscles. And then loaded endurance, building up along the way from lighter with just keeping the movement patterns in focus to then really loading yourself once the strength starts to build so that you can actually be the savior that you want to be as a dad. Hope that was useful for you. If anything I said resonated with you, shoot me a comment. Let me know about it. I love hearing about what you guys think about what I say. And if you think you've got someone in your life who would benefit from hearing these sorts of things as well, make sure you share the podcast with them. If you haven't already, subscribe. See you guys.